Pokemon Nuzlocke have been a long time passion of mine, and today I'm going to attempt to complete one in Pokemon Scarlet. The catch? This is a hardcore Nuzlocke, where I can only catch one fire type per route. I can't overlevel past the next leader's ace. I'm playing on set battle style, and I can't use any items in battle other than held items. I will be able to use Pokemon if they evolve into a fire type by level up, but not by evolution item. Because of the terrestrialization mechanic introduced this generation, I'm allowing myself to use the Pokemon's natural Terra type, but I'm unable to catch any static Terra rate encounters. Let me know in the comments who your favorite fire type Pokemon is, and don't forget to subscribe, or you probably smell bad. We start things off with a no-brainer. Our starter Pokemon, and subjectively the best starter Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet, Fuecoco. I name him Sabo. Let me know down in the comments if you can guess the nickname theme for this run. Sabo has a rash nature, which is going to be great for boosting those special fire type attacks. On Poco Path, I catch a Fletchling and name them Robin. Robin has big pecs with a sassy nature. Alright, I can work with that. As we approach the gates to Mesa Goza, we're confronted by our rival for the first mandatory battle after the Nuzlocke has officially started. Nimona leads off with her Sprigatito, which Sabo is able to scorch down with a few embers. Nimona then sends out her Pawmi and Terrastalize. Wait a minute, that's cheating. I can't do that yet. Her Pawmi lets off a powerful Thunder Shock, which does 16 to Sabo. After our Oran Berry, we can take one more without a critical hit. 2 embers put the Pawmi down into the red, and we need to pray that Robin can live an electric terrestrial boosted Thunder Shock. Thankfully, because of that sassy nature, we live on 4, eat our berry, and we let loose a stab quick attack and put the Pawmi down. Now that we've been assigned some chores from some people that we barely know, it's time to flesh out our team a little bit. We head back to the Inlet Grotto and catch a Houndour that I named Chopper. He's got a neutral nature and a dark Terra type. We then head to South Province 3 and pick up a Charcadet we then name Nami. Nami has a naughty nature. Not the best, but we'll make it work. After a couple minutes of hunting in South Province 2, we find an Eevee and name him Sanji. Sanji has a timid nature. That's not too good for the plans that I've got. Due to rule number 2, we can't use our Eevee just yet, so we'll take advantage of the open world this game offers and head to the other side of the map to find a Firestone. Sanji then evolves into a Flareon and we're good to go. First up is the Cortando Gym, a bug-type gym. You can guess how easily this goes for our team. First badge down, now it's time to take on the Stony Cliff Titan Cloth. With our level cap increased to 16, Sabo evolves into the goofiest middle evolution I think I've ever seen, Crocolore. I track down the big crustacean, and unfortunately for us, it's raining. We lead off with Nami as she takes a Rock Smash. I missed my first Will-O-Wisp, hopefully not setting a tone for later in the battle. We take a Vice Grip after the defense drop and live on 4. Thankfully, we connect our second Will-O-Wisp and switch into Sabo, who tanks a burnt Rock Smash wonderfully. Cloth blocks us from switching, but now it's time to kick up some dirt with a Mud Slap. We trade Rock Smashes and Mud Slaps, and with enough sand in its face, Cloth misses a Vice Grip against Sabo, and we're able to continue to spam Mud Slap until the first battle phase is done. I'm able to heal in between phases for this Titan fight, and we head down for round 2 against the Rock Lobster. This time, Arven joins us and sends out a Shelder alongside Nami. Cloth thankfully targets down Arven while Nami misses her first Will-O-Wisp. Again. I think she sensed my frustration and decided to double down because she missed a second Will-O-Wisp. Thankfully, the third one connects, and then we then switch into Sabo. And if it isn't broke, don't fix it. We send off a few Mud Slaps alongside Shelder's Water Guns, and that's all she wrote. The level cap increases to 17 now, which means it's time for Robin to evolve into a Fletchender. Thankfully, in this early game, we get to alternate easy and difficult challenges. Next up, I go to the Artisan Gym. A grass challenge. I want you to think really hard on how this one's gonna go. I would be lying if I said I wasn't nervous for the second Titan. Bombardier is the flying Titan, but thanks to its signature ability, Rocky Payload, on top of it learning Rocky type moves, it gives them an additional boost similar to the same type attack bonus. With this in mind, I think it's time to venture across the map. Again, to find ourselves a Rotom. We can use the Rotom catalog to convert this cheerful ghost into a Rotom Heat. I find one just outside Lavencia and name them Brook. Now it's time to go head over to Porto Marinata and bid on one of these catalogs. What do you mean I can't get these until after the water gym? Alright, back to the drawing board. We head back to the other side of the map and find the TM for Will-O-Wisp. I'll take advantage of Sanji's normal Terra type and teach it to him. Time to go bird hunting. I lead off with Sanji and immediately Terrastalize to go for a Will-O-Wisp. I tank a wing attack, eat my delicious Oran Berry, and connect the first Will-O-Wisp. I then switch into Sabo, who thankfully handles a Rock Throw and goes for an Incinerate. Luckily, the Bombardier doesn't pluck away my Oran Berry, and I'm able to keep spamming Incinerate. We live one more Rock Throw on 4 and get ready for phase 2 of the fight. This one is one of the harder Titan fights as there is no opportunity to heal in between phases. Arven shows up by the grace of God and sends out his Knackley. Same strategy as the first phase, Terrastalize, Will-O-Wisp. We live a Rock Throw on 10 and a connect on the first try. I switch in Chopper while Bombardier thankfully goes for Torment. I did teach Chopper Thunderfang for some super effective damage as Bombardier plucks away my Oran Berry. I get a nice amount of damage off while Arven's Knackley connects a Rock Throw. I can't take another with Chopper, so I switch into Nami, who eats a wing attack. Arven keeps up the pressure as Bombardier attacks Knackley and Nami clips its wings with one final Ember. with probably two of the most difficult challenges out of our way. And I've got a plan for that water gym, don't you worry. It's time to expand our team a bit more with the increased level cap. I catch an Oricorio and name her Boa, who has a careful nature. I then catch a Capsicid, who I name Kid, who has a neutral nature. Now it's time for the first of our Team Star Cruise. After swiftly addressing 30 random Pokemon before the boss will even bother with us, Giacomo drives out on his Pimp My Ride reject. I lead off with Sabo against his Pawniard and immediately terrestrialize and go for a Sunny Day to boost our Fire-type attacks. We tank 2 Aerial Aces as I accidentally fat finger my controller and go for a second Sunny Day. After taking a third very unnecessary Aerial Ace, we knock out the Pawniard with Incinerate. Last up is Giacomo's Revavroom. I know this will go for a Metal Sound, so I go for a Sunny Day Terra boosted Incinerate. Knowing I can't take a Wicked Torque now, I switch into Nami, who doesn't really take it much better. I then switch into Sanji as our Sunlight fades. We take a second Wicked Torque as I go for Charm, lowering the Revavroom's attack by 2 stages. We live the next attack as I'm able to go for a Mud Slap. At such low health, I then switch into Boa, who eats that attack splendidly. Revavroom lowers our special defense with Metal Sound as Boa goes for an Icy Wind. Anticipating a Snarl, I switch into Chopper to go for a Mud Slap. Unfortunately, this Revavroom has Swift, ignoring our accuracy drops. Team's not looking so hot, so I switch into Robin, who tanks a Swift. Revavroom keeps going for Metal Sound as I switch back into Boa. I need to be more offensive, so after eating my Oran Berry, I go for a Stab Air Cutter. I'm still not faster than this car, so I go for another Icy Wind followed up with another Air Cutter. Boa's able to live on 12, and I switch back into Robin, who thankfully dodges a Snarl. I'm still not faster, but I do manage to eat my Oran Berry and send this car to the impound with a Flame Charge. Now that was tough. It's time to expand our horizons and expand our team just a little bit more. I head to Asado Desert and catch a Larvesta, who I name Ace. Ace has a rash nature, which will definitely come in handy later in our run. While we're here, I stock up on Bronzor fragments and head to Zapapico to get a set of auspicious armor to evolve Nami into Armor Rouge. I then catch a Litleo in South Province 5, who I name Vivi. And with the second Firestone I found, we're able to evolve Kid into Scovillain and add them to the team. Last note before our next gym, thanks to the level cap increase, we are able to evolve Chopper into Houndoom. After some quick hide and seek with Clive, I mean Director Clavel, of course, it's time to battle the mainstreaming Queen Iono and her electric types. I lead off with Nami against her Wattrel and KO it with a Psyshock. She sends in Luxio, who also goes down after 2 more Psyshocks. She sends in her Bellybolt as I switch into Scovillain to eat the Water Gun. I set up the Sun to boost our speed with Chlorophyll and go for a Growth, boosting our attack by 2 stages. Bellybolt goes for a Spark, which we tank gracefully, and Kid terrestrializes into a Grass type to go for a Bullet Seed. 3 hits, Bellybolt's down for the count. Iono sends in her Mismagius, which thankfully for us is frail on the physical side, as Kid goes for another Bullet Seed. 3 hits again, and the third gym is down for the count. With the level cap now up to 26, we had to take on the next Team Star boss, Mela and her Fire crew. Anybody else find it odd that she wasn't the first boss to take on? I know it's open world and all, but she rocked me on my first playthrough of this game. Lucky for us, this fight isn't too difficult. We lead off with Nami against her Torkoal, who sets up the Sun for us as we go for a Mystical Fire. A second Mystical Fire takes down the turtle, and now it's time for her Revavroom. We terrestrialize Nami into the Fire type, and thanks to our Flash Fire ability, we're immune to the Overheat. We follow up with a Psyshock, which really does pitiful damage. Next turn, we follow up with a Sun, Terra, Flash boosted Mystical Fire, and 2 more of those seals the deal on our second Team Star boss. Next up is the Lurking Steel Titan. I'll give you a hint on how this one goes. This Alaskan Bullworm goes belly up. Now, if you circle back a little bit, I told you earlier that we have a plan for the Water Gym. So let's talk about it. In order to beat the Water Gym, I plan on utilizing Scovillain's Terra typing and its Chlorophyll ability, but we'll need to get the Sun up first. What's the best way to do this? Well, we just got a sneak peek from Mela. Time to head to the east side of the town, and in East Province 3, we find a Torkoal that has Drought and name them Thousand Sunny. The plan is simple. Lead off with Thousand Sunny with the Heat Rock to give us 7 turns of Sun. We then switch in our Loaded Dice Scovillain, Terrestrialize, and Bullet Seed the Veluza. I'm a little bit afraid of a Sucker Punch, so I go for Growth in front of Wugtrio and then follow up with another Bullet Seed. Kofu then sends out his Ace Crabominable, who terrestrializes into a Water type. No problem. Another Bullet Seed, another badge in the bag. Now that we've cleared the Cascarafa gym, we've unlocked the auctions at Porto Marinata. You know what that means. As luck would have it, one of the first auctions has the Rotom catalog. I don't know if this is scripted or not since it happened to me the same way in another save file, but I will take it. We can now turn Brook into his spicy hot oven form, and with the level cap increasing, we can continue to flesh out our encounters. I run around for what feels like ages until I finally see a curly-tailed Blazebreed Tauros. We catch him and name him Dalton, who has a positive attack nature, which is awesome, but I was definitely hoping for the Intimidate ability. Time to head north and take on Atticus of the Team Star Poison crew. This one's particularly challenging on paper as we don't have a ground type, and Atticus has a Skuntank which can hit our Armor super effectively. The game plan is to lead off with Thousand Sunny, let off a big sun-boosted Lava Plume, bring the Skuntank down to half. I then switch in a Chopper who tanks the Venoshock as I go for a Sun-boosted Incinerate. Atticus sends in his Revavroom as I switch in a Brook on the Bulldoze. A Sun-boosted Overheat sends this card to the scrap heap. I'm pretty sure I've made that joke before. Just go with it. Atticus then sends out his Muck. Thinking a few turns ahead, I go for Reflect as Muck fires off a Sludge Wave, poisoning Brook. I get a fast Volt switch off and head into Sabo as Muck goes for another Sludge Wave, doing just under half. Sabo pulls out his Fire Sombrero as I live on 2 without getting poisoned and KO the Muck with Flamethrower. Time for the backup car. I switch a Nami in as Revavroom goes for a resisted spin out. Psyshock does about a quarter of its health, and as we continue to exchange blows, the second Psyshock brings him down to about half. Contemplating switching, I figure I can live one more and go for a third Psyshock, bringing it down into the red. I switch in Thousand Sunny, who tanks the hit, and we knock out Revavroom with a Lava Plume. With our new level cap now, we have a few evolutions on our hands. Sabo evolves into Skeledirge, Robin evolves into Talonflame, and Vivi evolves into Pyroar. What's next on our list? A normal gym? Oh! Good, we can use our Tauros we just got not too long ago. Dalton has a fighting Terra type, so you can imagine how this battle goes. Double kick the Koala, double kick the Slug thing, and unfortunately since we get paralyzed, Dalton can't sweep like we want him to. I switch into Brook on the resisted Aerial Ace and go for Reflect, just in case. Thank God I did, because that normal boosted Facade is doing way too much, and I switch into Sabo, who's immune. Sabo eats the Aerial Ace and fires off a Torch Song, which, does anyone else think that this is the coolest move animation this generation? Let me know in the comments. Sabo scorches the bird down, and we have another badge. Time to head up to one of my favorite towns in the region, Montanavara, and to take on Rhyme and their Ghost-type Pokemon. It is a double battle, and it's a little gimmicky, as we can get several boosts from the... Let me check my notes here. Rap battle audience, is that right? This one goes pretty quickly thanks to an immune Pyroar and a super effective Skeledirge, so I'll call the curtains on this one and let you know we swept up pretty easily. Back-to-back favorites. Oh boy, with the level cap going up, it's time to circle back to the Asado Desert and battle the best designed Paradox Pokemon, Great Tusk. And I gotta be honest, I make a mistake and lead off with Thousand Sunny and activate Great Tusk's Photosynthesis, which gets an attack raise. Yikes. I switch into Robin on what I expect to be a ground-type move as it just goes for knockoff. I go for Growl to lower its attack and switch into Brook. It starts boosting its speed with Rapid Spin, and I accidentally Fat Finger and click Volt Switch on a ground type. Not good, but I do manage to get a switch into Skeledirge and connect a Terra Sun boosted Torch Song, bringing us into Phase 2. Again, still dumb. I lead with Thousand Sunny, but thankfully Great Tusk attacks Arvin Scoville, and I get a burn with Flamethrower. The plan from here is to switch into Robin, and Acrobatics our way to victory. I did want to save this next encounter until I could guarantee what I want. I head to Alfornata Cavern and run into a Salazzle. This mon is going to be crucial for us late game. I catch her with ease and name her Magellan, and it's time to take on the Alfornata Psychic Gym. I lead off a Chopper against Farigiraf and go for a Nasty Plot, as it can't do too much to me. We get a defense drop, unfortunately, but I go for another Nasty Plot into a Flame Charge to boost her speed. At +1 speed, we outspeed Tulip's entire team, and at +4, we OHKO everything with Dark Pulse. I do get super close to losing Chopper, though, because I overlook Espathra having Quick Attack while we're at -1. Thankfully, though, Espathra does have Terrible Attack. We live on 8 HP to finish off her floor just and earn our next badge. In the interest of time, I'll let you know that the Ice Gym against a Mono Fire team went, well, exactly how you'd think it'd go. The Team Star Fairy crew can be formidable, as Ortega has a huge power Azumarill to lead off with. I lead off with Brook, who has a Focus Sash and is able to paralyze the Azumarill with a Discharge. We live on 1 and follow up with another Discharge. Being faster than Wigglytuff, I Volt Switch out into Magellan, and here's where the fun begins. I Encore Wigglytuff into Play Rough, which is quad resisted by the way, and start setting up Nasty Plots. After getting a +6, I go for Venoshock and KO the Wigglytuff, and the Dash Bun, and the Starmobile. On to the last Titan fight, which definitely gave me a chuckle during my first playthrough, but I'm certainly nervous going into this with a full Fire-type team. I lead off with Brook and go for a Reflect to nerf the Dondozo's physical moves. 2 Discharges and that Catfish turns tail, and after hunting it down across the lake, filled with the most annoying Veluza, Arvin somehow shows up again, and we tag team the brute. I start by going for Reflect and unfortunately do some necessary damage to Arvin's Greedent with Discharge. With the Reflect up, I switch in Thousand Sunny to put up the Sun, and thankfully Dondozo does not target me down with a Water Pulse. I'm able to Body Slam the False Dragon Titan into submission as it spits out its dinner. Brook's back up and going for Discharge. I Volt Switch out into Robin as Tatsugiri KOs Arvin's Greedent. Acrobatics isn't doing as much as I'd hoped as Tatsugiri misses the Icy Wind. Then it misses a Muddy Water. Then I'm able to continue going for Acrobatics to secure our victory. You'd think the fighting crew would be a no-brainer with an Armor Rouge at our disposal. Well, you'd be right. I lead off with Nami and go for a Will-O-Wisp against Toxicroak. It just keeps wanting to go for Sucker Punch for some reason, so I keep setting up Calm Minds, then go for a Trick Room. At +3, I KO Toxicroak, then Lucario, then Pissimian, then Annihilate, then the Starmobile. GG's only. With the level cap increased and nearing the end game, we are able to level Ace up into a Volcarona, which is going to be critical. Wait a minute, Clive is Director Clavel, who's also Cassiopeia? Man, what a twist, I tell you. I lead off with Ace and go for a Quiver Dance as Clavel's Oranguru goes for Yawn. Ace fires off another Quiver Dance as Oranguru yawns again, and our Chesto Berry wakes us up. At +2, we take out the Oranguru with a Bug Buzz. To shed our neutrality to fire moves, I Terrasilize and go for a third Quiver Dance, and Ace tanks a Fire Blast from Clavel's Houndoom. We knock it out with Bug Buzz as Poltergeist comes in next and falls to a Fiery Dance. Amoonguss comes out, and we've got Psychic on deck for this mushroom. Clavel then sends in Abomasnow, which, believe it or not, dies to a +3 Terra Fiery Dance. Shocker, I know. His last mon is Quackwaval, which is the whole reason we taught Ace Psychic in the first place, but I forgot that he Terrasilized into a water type, so I just go for a Bug Buzz to pick up the win. Clavel then informs us that he's not Cassiopeia. Some director, I tell you what. We make for the schoolyard and battle Peniopeia and her full evolution team. She leads off with Umbreon, and we've got a similar strategy to last time as we Quiver Dance up. Bug Buzz takes out the Umbreon, Vaporeon, and then I Terrasilize to lose my fire neutrality and barely miss out on the KO with a Psychic against Flareon living a Flare Blitz. Fiery Dance takes down the Jolteon and Leafeon as Penny sends out her ace, Sylveon. We live a quick attack where Sylveon gets burned by our Flame Body, and 2 more Fiery Dances puts this arc to rest. Speaking of putting to rest, did anyone else think Arven's backstory was incredibly tragic, or was that just me? He definitely deserved better, but I'm not gonna give him better. Arven leads off with Greedent as I lead off with Dalton and fire off a close combat. Easy enough. Arven then sends in Garganacl, so I Terrasilize Dalton and fire off a Terra Boost in close combat. Thankfully, this rock wasn't too much of an issue. Arven then sends out Scovillain as I switch into Robin to take the Energy Ball and knock it out with Acrobatics. Arven then sends out Cloyster as I go back into Dalton. Cloyster sets up a light screen, which gives me an excuse to go for Raging Bull and destroy the screen. With a little chip damage, close combat takes it out. Toadscruel comes in, which might actually be the goofiest Pokemon I've ever seen, and Dalton's able to take him down with a Flare Blitz. Arven, you've done a good job helping my boss stuff out, but I'm about to put him back down with a close combat to wrap this fight up. We've made it here. The Elite Four. Let's do a quick team recap before we head in. We've got Thousand Sunny the Torkoal with Clear Smog, Body Slam, Protect, and Heat Wave. We've got Kid the Scovillain with Flamethrower, Growth, Bullet Seed, and Crunch. We've got Ace the Volcarona with Quiver Dance, Protect, Fiery Dance, and Psychic. Magellan the Salazzle with Encore, Nasty Plot, Toxic, and Venoshock. Brook the Rotom Heat with Volt Switch, Reflect, Overheat, and Discharge. And lastly, Chopper the Houndoom with Nasty Plot, Flamethrower, Dark Pulse, and Flame Charge. Thankfully, in this game, if we need to, we have access to our box Pokemon in between battles, and I'll be using that to my advantage if the need arises. First up is Elite Four Rika, the Ground-type user. I lead off with Thousand Sunny to set up the sun against their Whiscash. I switch into Kid, who's rocking the loaded dice to boost the Bullet Seed rolls as we tank an Earth Power, putting us a little above half. I take a second Earth Power as I go for Growth and knock out the Whiscash with Bullet Seed. Then falls Donphan, Dugtrio, Camerupt, and lastly Clodsire. Mission accomplished, Kid. Next is Elite Four Poppy, the Steel-type user. Very similar strategy, leading off with Thousand Sunny to set up the sun as she leads Caparaja. I switch into Brook as she sets up Stealth Rocks. I go for an Overheat to one-shot the Elephant, and she sends in Bronzong. With Bronzong coming out, I go for Reflect as she unfortunately crits me with a Zen Headbutt. A -2 Overheat takes Bronzong to the red, and the third finishes it off. I go for Volt Switch against the Magnezone to break it sturdy and switch into Chopper, who takes 25% of rocks. Thankfully, we didn't get any status damage from Tri-Attack. Flamethrower KOs the Magnezone and the Corviknight, and here's where I mess up. I definitely assumed Houndoom was faster than Tinkaton, and I go for a Flamethrower. Poppy Terrasilizes her Tinkaton, it outspeeds and KOs Chopper with Stone Edge, our first death of the run. I send in Ace, who takes 50% to rocks, who I'm also hoping outspeeds. We do, but we don't KO with Fiery Dance. Thank God Ace dodges a Stone Edge and KOs Tinkaton with a second Fiery Dance. Alright, one death, no sweat. Rest in peace, Chopper, you were one of the greats. Next is Elite Four Larry, who learned his lesson with his normal type Pokemon and has to switch gears to flying types. I really like how they did that in this game. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I swap Sabo in for Chopper and start the battle. Larry leads off with Tropius as I lead off with Sabo and go for a Flame Charge. Tropius, a true lad of a Pokemon, sets up the sun for us. Sabo tanks an Air Slash as we go for a second Flame Charge, knocking out the Tropius. With the sun up and +2 speed, I'm hoping to do some damage. I Terrasilize to boost our fire types and go for Torch Song against Larry's Staraptor. Oricorio comes out next, and I just keep on singing. Altaria lives the Torch Song onslaught and hits us with a Dragon Pulse, and we knock it out next turn with a Hex. Flamigo comes in, one of the best new Pokemon, and we knock it out with a Torch Song. 3 down, 2 to go. Last up before Gita is Elite 4 Hassel, the art teacher. Oh, and I guess he uses dragon types as well. He leads off with Noivern as I lead off with Ace. I Terrasilize to lose my weakness to flying moves and go for a Quiver Dance. The strat here is to combo Protect and Leftovers to boost all the way to sweep. After a few turns of this, I get to +4 and KO the Noivern with Psychic. Dragalge comes in next, also down to a Psychic, as does Haxorus. Flapple goes down to a Fiery Dance. Lastly, Hassel's Excalibur goes down to a Wait, no. Oh my god. It lives a +4 Psychic in the red and knocks out Ace with a Glaive Rush.
How are you alive?
Rest in peace, Ace. Thank you for loving me. I send out Magellan to pick up the KO with Venoshock and seal the deal. We've made it this far. We cannot give up now. It's time to check on Champion Gita. I swap in Nami to the team and now it's time. I lead off with Nami as Gita leads off with her Espathra. I go for a Shadow Ball as we tank a Lumina Crash, dropping our special defense. Espathra sets up a Reflect as we knock it out with a second Shadow Ball. Gita then sends in Avalugg and we're able to burn it with a Will-O-Wisp before switching in the Sabo. We tank a burnt Earthquake thankfully and we're able to start setting up with Flame Charge. Torch Song KOs the Avalugg and boosts our special attack. We're also able to knock out King Gambit with Torch Song and Veluza with Hex. Don't even get me started on her Go-Go. We do find ourselves in a pickle here. Gita sends out her Glamora, which terrestrializes into a rock type that can blow back our entire team. Sabo goes for a Hex and barely misses out on the KO to fall to an Earth Power. He's been with us the entire run, and I am not happy about this. I switch in Dalton, who KOs Glamora with a close combat, and we become a Pokemon League champion or something. Whatever. I want revenge. I want to finish this now. I head to the Mesa Goza town square to make an example of Nemona. I lead off with Dalton, who outspeeds Lycanroc thanks to his choice Scarf and KOs with close combat. Orthworm comes in next, and just like the Titan Orthworm, this one drops just as quick. Pawmot's up next and can't hang with a Terra Boost at close combat either. Next up is the Dunsparce. Yeah, it fainted too. Nemona then sends in Goodra, who has a super low defense, but unfortunately we miss out on the KO and die to a Sludge Bomb. I then send in Robin, who KOs with Acrobatics. Last up is Nemona's Meowscarada, which takes our Acrobatics surprisingly well as we eat a Thunder Punch. I switch into Brook expecting a second Thunder Punch, and we live a Terra Boosted Flower Trick on 30 to connect our Overheat, solidifying us as the best trainer around. Our journey then takes us to the deepest depths of Paldea to find out that Arven's mom is dead, also a robot, also one of the coolest plot twists in Pokemon to date. I can't think of a better end game in the franchise. I lead off against her Slitherwing with Robin and go for a Swords Dance. Slitherwing goes for a low sweep, which drops my speed, making me not an ideal candidate to sweep anymore. I KO that bug with Furry Feats with Acrobatics as Sada sends in her Fluttermane, which has a plethora of ways to knock out Talonflame. I Terrasilize into a normal type to tank either a Power Gem or a Thunderbolt or become immune to her Shadow Ball and KO it with Acrobatics. Next up is Sada's Screamtail, and I send in Sanji to go for a Will-O-Wisp. We live a crit Zen Headbutt to connect, and now the plan is to get a Reflect Up with Brook, then swap into Magellan to set up and sweep. Hopefully. Brook gets the Reflect Up paired with the Light Clay, and we get a Slow Volt switch off and a Salazzle. I go for Nasty Plot, and we take a burnt Zen Headbutt through Reflect gracefully. Magellan gets a +6 thanks to a lucky Zen Headbutt dodge, and we KO with Venoshock. Sada sends out her Brew Bonnet, which definitely should have been named Ungamugas, and we KO it with Flamethrower. Next is Sandy Shocks, who also gets KO'd by a Flamethrower. Lastly is Sada's Roaring Moon. I can't let his +6 Salazzle go to waste, so I go for Dragon Pulse, only to be outsped and KO'd by Earthquake. This is not good. I send in Vivi holding her air balloon to go for a Noble Roar, dropping the Roaring Moon's attack. Vivi dodges a Stone Edge and connects, and she thankfully lives the next Stone Edge to go for a second Noble Roar. Vivi finally goes down to the third Stone Edge as I send in Robin. Thankfully to our normal typing, it can't hit us super effectively and I go for Roost. We snag the Flame Body Burn and I continue to Roost up to good health before I go on the offensive with Acrobatics. Paired with the burn damage, Robin avenges her fallen comrades and shows us exactly how we can beat a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Scarlet using only Fire-type Pokemon. This challenge was definitely the first of its kind for me, and I'm excited to do more of these. Let me know down in the comment section what type of Nuzlocke challenge you'd like to see next, and head over to CBADstudios.com for early access to these types of videos and more. Also, subscribe to my channel, or you smell bad.